Greetings and salutations to one and all. Welcome to a brand spanking new week right here on the night shift to DJ Kevin Steele. It's Community and Finance Night. How you doing? I want to say big ups to each and everyone locked in right now. Those tuning in from near and far across the pond, One Harmony Radio, top of the morning to you guys over there in the UK. Big ups to those on WGLRO, home of the Donny Walker Morning Show, taking you from the sheets to the streets, touching Detroit to Denmark and all points in between. The Foundation Radio Network, ClintonLindsay.com. Big ups to each and every one of you, those on PEMGTV.com. Welcome. And of course, right here at the home of the night shift to DJ Kevin Steele, kevinsteele.com. Glad to have you. Couldn't do it without you. You have my word, I wouldn't even try. I want to be sure to invite you, each and everyone, to share and share and share.
Cause we celebrating tonight, yeah. Bring bottles by the case, like we raise up in this place. Please excuse me for my ways. Hey, this thing is a problem. Oh, flirting all night, that's what I like. This thing is a problem. Oh, don't care how I look, cause I don't hope. They try to stop me from flirting, but I go be there anyway. They try to stop me from drinking, I done by the bar. They try to stop me from whining, I done on the ground already. They can't stop my addiction, lock me up if you want. I will always find a way, and I'll jump in anyway.
Kicking off things tonight with a little 5-star Akil. Track called Find a Way.
When you see the sunrise, that don't mean we going inside. You can see it all in my eyes. This thing is a problem. Oh, flirting all night, that's what I like. This thing is a problem. Oh, don't care how I look, cause I don't hope. They try to stop me from flirting, but I go be there anyway. They try to stop me from drinking, I don't buy the bar. They try to stop me.
Want to say thanks. Want to say thank you to my segment sponsors, Pulse Media Group, for innovative streaming and recording solutions when being in a moment is priceless. Let's give them a call. I tell you about these devices, you see, man. Boy, oh boy.
Everybody ain't nice, we addicted to the life, so we partying every night, yeah. When
Okay, so let me do this again. I want to say thank you to my segment sponsors. Pulse Media Group for when being in a moment is priceless. Give them a call 754-999-6020 or visit them at pulsemg.com. They can do everything you see right here on kevinstew.com and so much more. Hosting your website, creating a website, providing streaming services on your website. I want to say thanks to Althea SU and her Healing Heavenly Hands. Althea is a licensed massage therapist that comes to you, operating out of Broad County, North Miami-Dade and South Palm Beach counties. Give her a call, 954-655-9000, or email her at thealater@att.com. As a matter of fact, go ahead and email her the results of your COVID-19 test before you give her a call. When you call her, say, hey, listen, I already emailed you my COVID test. Please let me know when you can come. I want to say thanks to Reggae Global Entertainment. Reggae Global will be your booking agents. Take care of your trademarks, your publishing, your business registration, legal service referrals, music production, marketing and promotion, and so much more. Give them a call, 954-998-8034. And of course, GMAT Music Solutions. They bring your event to life, providing sound, light, stage production services, musical equipment, musicians, singers, audio engineers, DJs, bands, so much more. Visit them at GMAT Music Solutions or give them a call, 754-307-4622. That's 754-307-GMAC. The sound of 5-star Akil. It's called Find a Way. No behavior, we come to get on. But you know, we kind of have to taper it down tonight, you know, because we can't be going on too badly. Not when you have the police in the place. You know, you could get into some serious trouble. But let's see what we can get by on tonight and get away with. You know, we can push the envelope a little bit, but not too much. They'll give you some leeway, as we learned last week from Officer Chauncey Sims. But tonight, we have to deal with who he reports to. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you none other than the one and only Chief Constance Stanley.
Good evening. How are you, Kevin?
I am well. I'm excited.
Great.
I've been so looking forward to this day.
Well, you're happy, so happy to be here, and appreciate you thinking of me and having me on the show.
It's my pleasure. You know, I first of all, off the bat, let me go ahead and toss this out here. Officer Sims did an excellent representation of the Lauderhill Police Department, and I'm looking forward to doing a lot more shows with him, or even Lieutenant Santiago, if we get the opportunity. But excellent.
Absolutely.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to doing one each month with them.
Whatever we can do to assist you, Luke, and I appreciate Sam's being on and the feedback. He is one of our great officers. So he's been
Yeah.
with the city for a while. So I'm glad he represented the department well.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. All right. So, like I had said to you when we had our little chat, when I was begging you to come on, it wasn't much begging. You were
A little
quite.
big, little big.
There was a
Yes.
little bit of a beg, but not much. You were quite willing, and I truly appreciate of that. Tonight we get to learn who Constance Stanley is. You know, a lot of time people would hear of the chief being somewhere, and everybody is all prim and proper because it's the chief, and rightly so. It's the boss.
Yeah.
But outside of that too, the chief is an individual,
Very true.
and so that people can get to understand why you do what you do and how you do what you do, and by extension, those that are in your charge, what it is that you're trying to accomplish. People kind of need to get to know who the chief is when, well, I don't know if you can say when the badge is put down, because I'm not too sure your badge is ever put down.
Yeah, 24/7. On call. I have to be ready.
Jeez. So is there? I guess there's never a time when the chief is not the chief.
No, there isn't. I mean, I do have things that I do in my personal life to try to, relieve some of the stress because the job is stressful and, being responsible for an entire department. And I want to take a moment to acknowledge and recognize an officer we just lost recently,
Yes.
and we just buried him this past week, this Saturday. So.
Yeah.
Again, as a chief, you think every day and about your officers, their well-being. It's almost like they're your kids. Although these are adults, but you have no other choice but to think about them and make sure
Right.
that they're safe at night. So at least I lose sleep. Sometimes concerned with that, and no chief wants to have where they have to bury an officer. So. Just recognizing Sergeant Corey Pendergrass, and
Yeah.
he's been with the department for 23 years. So, these are it's part of the job, and comes with the territory when you have to be faced with these situations. Unfortunately, but I love to walk on the beach. I do that. Particularly some mornings. If I can't do the mornings, I'll try in the evenings, but not that often. I do have 2 grandkids currently, a daughter, one daughter, and been in this profession for 28 years. I do enjoy it because I enjoy people and the community. So this is a career that I sought for several years and wanted to do coming up as a child.
So you've been a police officer for 28 years?
Yes, 28 years. I was with Lauderhill since 1994, and then I was with an agency prior to Lauderhill, Opelika Police Department for 3 years. So I came to Lauderhill in 1994.
You see,
And
I really have to put up this picture of you in full screen so that people can see it, because you look like you're about 35, 40 in this picture.
Stop, Kevin.
So, to be in the police force for 28 years.
Yeah, and I actually started late in my career. God bless her soul. My mother did not want me to get in this profession, so unfortunately she passed, and it was something that I always wanted to do. She wanted me to be a nurse, but this was a career path that I sought, and for several reasons. As I mentioned, coming up as a kid, and I was faced with, along with my family, mistreatment by police, and in my adult life. And it was at that time I just said, I have to get in this profession to be a change agent.
Mm.
And so I strongly pushed, and my mom, one of the things my mom always said, and, God bless her and my dad, but they raised us very well. And, she was always committed to doing, the things that she wanted to do and putting your mind to it. So, I went ahead and pursued this career, not knowing, and I know she was fearful because she was afraid that something would happen to me out here. So I know that was her biggest concern and reason for me not pursuing this profession.
And
but
rightly so.
again, yes, and I understood. So I respected her, at that time, her wishes, and did not pursue it. And but when the opportunity did come, and unfortunately, like I said, I lost my mother.
Yes.
And I decided to pursue this career. And I always say that she's looking down on me, smiling right now, but very grateful for the opportunity, and grateful for being able to do some of the things that I could do in this position.
Mm. And we want to touch on some of those things a little bit later on. It is said in the stew pot here. And for those of you listening in, really quickly, big ups to those tuning in on Facebook Live. For you, Chief, the translation is Facebook. As Jamaicans, when people are inquisitive, we say that they're fast. So on Facebook Live, big ups to each and every one of you. Do remember, come on over to kevinstew.com. It's where you get the entire show. You only get a segment on Facebook. So don't get too comfortable. CJ, big ups to you. Dottie, welcome, sweetie. And for those of you in the stew pot, if you don't know what the stew pot is, others call it a chat room. We're very fancy over here. It's the stew pot. It's where we keep things interactive and bubbling. Come on in, the water is always fine. Those of you who want to call in and text in, you can do so also. 773-789-STEW is the number to use. 773-789-7839. Those of you overseas, you can always Skype in. You can also WhatsApp that number. You can Skype in. Kevin.stew is a Skype handle. All right. So I know some of you have questions for Chief Stanley. We'll get to that a little bit later on. There were some questions that were asked of Chauncey last week that we said we would defer to you this week. So
Okay.
And actually, I don't even know what I did with the questions now, to be honest. I'd have to go back in the chat to see if I can find them.
Okay.
But some people had some questions. And I do apologize for not writing them down. But going back, influences, you said you wanted to be a change agent because you got mistreated by the police growing up. Where did you grow up?
Right in Miami, Florida. Native Floridian, born and raised.
Nice. Okay, so you spent all your time here in Florida?
I did. Visited other states, but yes, majority of my time I went to school here. I majored in criminal justice, so I have both my associate's and bachelor's degree that I obtained while here in South Florida. A total of 8 of us. There were 5 that were in the law enforcement profession. I was the only police officer, but yes, my parents had 8 kids.
Nice. My grandmother had 7.
Okay. Yeah. But yes, I'm a native Floridian, so I was born and raised here. And growing up, my brother, I had 3 brothers, and they've experienced misconduct by police as well as, like I said, I had a couple of experiences myself. And,
right.
I'm glad to say that I didn't let that turn me away, because I know how people should be treated. I know I was raised by my parents and growing up, and I knew it wasn't right. So, when you're in that type of position and have that type of power, it makes a big difference. So you have to maintain professionalism, and there's no way or, no need to mistreat someone. And I don't care, what it is. I mean, but anyway, I knew that wasn't right, and I did make a complaint with that department on one of the occasions at that time, and that's one of the things I think that a lot of people fail to do when they are mistreated, and it's important to make sure that information is passed on to the department. There are several ways of reporting incidents of that nature.
Right.
And I just want people to continue to know that it's available and they should pursue it.
When you get information like that from the CPTP top, you kind of have to say, all right, maybe there's just, we can actually do this. One of the things that we learned from Chauncey last week is that people in Lauderhill love the Lauderhill Police Department.
They do. I get a lot of positive feedback quite often, and I share that with the officers and meet with them occasionally just to remind them, whatever you're doing out there, people are supporting you, and there's a reason, for that. So I often remind them to maintain that professionalism, and you'll continue to get that positive feedback. And not everybody's going to like the police, but I always
Right.
tell them, you don't look at it that way. If you see somebody out there and you're encountering them, you speak to them, in spite of what's going on around the nation. And that's what's most important, that they know that they have respect, a lot of respect for Lauderhill police officers. And it's Chauncey, and again, to his regard, people love him. He's out there in the community. They don't see him as, that negative police officer. And we don't want
Right. people
people to have that negative perception, but he's out in the community and he knows a lot of people in the community.
Right. I didn't get. I don't know if Chauncey was there on Saturday. I met Lieutenant Martinez. I'm sorry, Lieutenant Santiago. Mike.
Santiago, yes.
Yeah. I met him prior to the service commencing on Saturday, because I was there. I was there with Luke.
Okay.
And we were up on the balcony. I don't know if Chauncey was there. I didn't get a chance to meet him personally, but I did meet Mike Santiago. So I spoke to him a little bit, and looking forward, like I said, to working some more with them to educate the general public on what policing, I would say model policing, because when you're hearing it from the people, then you can really repeat it. Hearing it from you guys is just, what you would expect to say. But hearing it from the people, that is different. People in the stew pot are saying hello to you, Chief.
Hi.
So,
Yeah.
28 years.
Yes.
What are some of the departments that you went through? What's some of the training that you've had? Because right now you hold the position that is typically a male-dominated position. Well, policing
That's
on a
correct.
whole is typically male-dominated.
It is, but I have to tell you, Kevin, coming up when I was in the police academy, I did have this one male mentor, who was he was a reserve officer with the Opelika Police Department, and he worked out of the academy. And when I first started, and you go through the training at the academy, there are things that you have to do and you have to pass, and they want to make sure that you're mentally capable of getting through that process, because if you can't handle the pressure there, then how are you going to handle it when you do get in the real world? So they take you through certain things just to see if you will make it, or if it will break you. And I have to say, there were some things that happened in the academy that a lot of people just couldn't handle. And, I have to credit my mom and dad for our upbringing, the parents that we had, so there's certain things you're going to be able to handle and deal with. But one of the things he used to always tell me that, when opportunity presents itself, you don't turn it down. So while I was in the academy, I did become a squad leader because they saw how dedicated I was. And I have to say that I've been that way throughout my career, no matter what position I held. I did it to the best of my ability, and it didn't matter what, male, female. I mean, I didn't let my male counterparts, intimidate me.
Right.
I just did what I had to do and, moved on. And I have to tell you, that same professor, when I look at it now and I'm in this position, I went to him one day and I told him, that I met the chief, this was the chief of Oak Block at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And he looked at me and he just started chuckling like, and I'm looking at him and saying, well, why is he making fun of me? Because I said I met the chief, the guy at the top. And he just said, he wears pants just like you, so from that point on, it's just, I said, okay, this is just a human being. So I get the same thing. And I have an open door policy. So, there's a chain of command that you have to follow, but
Right.
I get to know my officers and they see me for who, I am. And I've been the same way, very consistent. So it's funny if I call them in my office, they're like, oh, they get all panicky. And I say, there's no need to, be afraid because, again, I'm very big in communication, but, just the training that I've gone, throughout the academy, my last training before becoming chief, I attended the FBI Academy in Quantico, Virginia.
Yes.
And, that was a very, I was thankful for the opportunity because it's a really serious management course. And if you can get that course, you can pretty much, having that under your belt is great. But throughout my years, I've worked in professional standards. So I policed the police at one point. I worked the budget, I handled the budget. I worked in just about every department within the police department, so I became well versed. And I'm glad that my chief at the time encouraged me to learn the budget, because, it's like and I said at the time, I said, well, in order for me to learn this budget, they're going to have to put me through some type of training.
Right.
So the city manager at the time, he's no longer with us. I submitted a training request to go take some budget classes and it got turned down, so I was like, well, what am I going to do now? I thought to myself, but that was the best thing that could have happened because it forced me to meet with our finance department. I had notes that I took from the last, the former assistant chief who used to handle the budget, and I took notes from him. I met with him for about a week.
Right.
But I learned the budget just by meeting with people within the department. So I don't think any outside training would have taught me what I already knew.
Right.
So it just that I didn't have the confidence, and I guess at the time that I would be able to handle it. So the city manager at the time did me a great favor, and I'm glad that he did that. But as I mentioned before, I've had several types of training within the department and outside as well. A lot of management courses. I've gone to Senior Institute classes, Senior Management Institute in Boston. Was there for a few months. And the FBI Academy, as I mentioned previously, you stay on campus. So you're kind of forced to work with your teammates that are in the same dorms with you. So that was a great opportunity. It was cold at that time. And as I told you, I'm a native Floridian, so I wasn't used to running in the snow. And, you have to do physical as well as academic training, and you have to present. So it was like being in college again, but a great experience. I'm glad I had that opportunity. So just having the internal training. I worked in criminal investigations division as a detective and also was the sergeant in that division. So just worked, in pretty much just about every area of the police department. So it's a benefit being, having that experience and then being in the position of chief. So you have a bigger overview.
Right.
Of what goes on.
That makes you an excellent fit for the position. Geez, that's quite a resume. I must say. A few weeks ago, I did have. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Dr. David Barash. He wrote one of the books that is used at Quantico.
Okay.
And I can't remember which one it is now. I meant to ask him again which one it was. He was a guest on this very show a few weeks ago talking about deterrence. Actually, it was on my Wednesday show, my Real Talk show. And in a few weeks, I should have his wife on. She's also an author. But anyway,
awesome.
Back to you. So that's quite a bit of training, like I said, and quite a bit of knowledge. So working through the departments, with you being in at the top seat, just about you have the perfect thing when you have an open door policy, because now you get to help out each department. But doesn't that kind of stretch you thin?
You know, it does, but I rather that than not know. In addition to that, I have a suggestion box. So I allow officers, they can remain anonymous or they can sign their names to it. If they have any suggestions, they put them right in that box. My professional standards unit will check that box every day. And, you know, some of the things. So I try to reach out and make sure people have another opportunity, because a lot of people don't want to come to the chief's office. You know, they may have ideas, suggestions, and they may not want to just come directly in and talk. So I have that other outlet for them to be able to put those suggestions in the box, because I always tell them that it's not my agency, it's our agency, and their input is very important. So when you do have that input from officers, you get more buy-in to it. But they know I'm very big when it comes to customer service and a lot of these community programs, you know, and I tell them how important it is. And, you know, again, we've been doing this. And so with everything going on around us, I said, you know, people see you all different, you know, because we've been proactive. It's not trying to be reactive to what's going on. You know, we often do these because we know how important it is to engage in the community and bridge that gap. One of the other programs that we have, and I know you mentioned a lot of people trying to understand the process, but we have a Citizens Police Academy, and it's a 16-week program where people come in and meet, and they get a chance to see how we operate, why we do things the way we do. They get a chance to do ride-alongs with the officers to go to certain scenes. They get an opportunity to go to the jail, BSO Communications, you know, who dispatches our calls. So I think when people have a better understanding of why things are, like if they call 911, well, 911, if you get a call for 911, that's an emergency. But if you call, you know, and say it's a burglary to your vehicle and it's delayed, nobody is around, you know, there may be a delay in that call if an officer is tied up on another call. So when people have that understanding, you know, although all calls are important, but there's some that, you know, are maybe are prioritized by communication. So when people have that understanding, then they say, okay, that's why the officer was delayed. So it's good having that, because, you know, they have that opportunity to see, and we get to hear from them, you know, what their concerns are.
Right. Someone in the stew pot is saying you worked your way up through the ranks. The greatest types of leaders, you've lived what your staff is experiencing.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool.
Yes.
And taking care of yourself is pretty important too. You mentioned that you do that, and, you know, you take a walk on the beach every now and then. I know a really good massage therapist. Let me just put that out there. And, actually, the sponsor of this segment of the show right now. Yeah, she comes to you. She brings her table. She has oils. Yeah. So.
Well, that's nice. It's good to know, and I always encourage people to, you know, take your vacation time, because it's there for a reason, and sometimes you have to have that mental break, even if it's just to go, you know, a few hours away, but you know, to get away and come back refreshed. One of the benefits we do have, though, the officers work a 12-hour shift, so there are long days, but it averages out to 14 days, you know, a month that they actually work. So if they wanted to take 10 days, then they have, you know, almost a month off. So again, strongly encourage them to utilize that that time off, just so they can get a free day.
But do you have enough officers for them to do that?
We do, the way the shifts are situated. So we're slated for 132 sworn positions. You know, we're down now about 19 you know, positions. So, you know, we actively are recruiting people to come on board, but, you know, we're you know, we're challenged because we're with other agencies as well, surrounding agencies, so we're competing against them as well. But just trying to get people, and, you know, going to different universities, trying to recruit and get people through the process. But, you know, we are down in numbers, but we're working on trying to change that.
It's funny because someone just reached out to me last week and asked, do you know how I can get into the Lauderhill Police Department?" I'm like, "What? Are you serious?" And they're like, "Yeah, I'm really interested in law enforcement." I was like,
Send them our way. Send them our way.
Okay.
You know, we have our background recruiter. His name is Sean McDermott. In fact, over the last week, I've had about 3 people reach out to me for positions. I passed on someone's information today, and sometimes I personally call, people to make sure they follow through. But
right.
and I actively recruit. You know, a lot of our officers, we have a recruiting team, so the officers are out, recruiting people, as they encounter them. But yeah, send them our way if you have anybody that's interested in the process, and we can explain it, to them what they have to go through to kind of walk them through. The dilemma we're faced with right now is the academies are closed because of COVID. Well, they're open now, but they're limited on their classroom sizes, and they were shut down for a while because of COVID. So that's our biggest challenge right now, just trying to get people through, the academy, because the class sizes have, been reduced as a result.
Right.
But once a person is hired by us, we start paying them right away. We pay them while they're in the academy, and then once they complete it, then they get a higher salary.
Right.
And if they have experience, I mean, we're looking for people with experience as well. If they're, from other states or local, they have experience and want to come on board. So, but yes, we're actively recruiting.
You see, now I'm getting a better idea of why you have an open door policy. It's because you have to keep going through the door. You are a part of recruiting. You are out there talking to your police officers. You're out there in the community. You have an open door policy because you're out the door.
Right. I can't sit behind a desk and not, do. I mean, this is the most in this position that I have, but I do try to get out there. And I did it when I was a patrol captain. I would occasionally meet with officers, because it's good to get to know your officers and let them, kind of see where you stand and what your goals are.
Right.
Like I said, if they know that they can approach you, I park in the back parking lot, where the officers park, so they see me and I dialogue with them, so, and quite a few of them I've been knowing for a number of years. So
yeah. But
no, it's really good to get to know who your officers are and what their interests are. You'd be surprised, some of them sing is like, oh, I didn't know you sing, so there's a lot of things that they do, and you want to try to, make sure they're involved, because we do have programs. We have our police memorial service, and sometimes we require somebody to sing. So several officers, sing, and we utilize them to perform at some of our events, the city events.
Right.
So it's good to know those talents and to learn a little bit about them.
Speaking of officers, I just got a message from one of your former officers saying that she's tuned in, Debbie Banner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Debbie.
And it's funny because the first time I met you was at her retirement.
Okay, yes. Yeah. She had the whole world there. Everybody knows Debbie.
Right.
But, yeah, and see, Debbie is one of those officers that have been out in the community. She was part of our citizens, on patrol, and a lot of them that go through that citizens police academy, they wind up being volunteers for the city. That's how we, recruit a lot of them.
Right.
Debbie has been very instrumental, and she's always been a people person. You have cops that, they handle a call, they're there. Debbie spends time speaking to folks, and she's always been that way. So, and we, she's presented at a lot of events, and everybody loves her because she has that personality.
Yeah, she does.
So, but it's important. Community policing is a very important part of what we do.
Someone had asked a question, what's the maximum age limit to enter the academy? But before you answer that question, I want to say goodbye to Facebook Live. You guys jump on over to kevinstew.com and listen to the rest of what Chief Stanley has to say. I plan to ask her about her childhood in a little bit, so you don't want to miss that. But see you, Facebook Live. Deuces. All right, so Chief, what's the maximum age to enter the academy? Do you know?
I think it's 18 or 19, but
The maximum
I
age?
can confirm that. Oh, the maximum. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, the minimum. Thought you meant the. You know what? There's if you can get through the process. You know, we don't have a maximum age. I think we had one who was. I think he started in the academy. He was age 45. So as long as you can pass the, you know, get through the physical agility process.
Yeah.
That's really it. You know.
Oh, wow.
So there is no age limit. It's not like some, you know, some agencies like the state, you know, you have to be retired at a certain age. So, you know, they won't even take you at a certain age.
Right.
But no, we don't have that. You know, as long as you're physically fit and you can get through the process, you know, get
You're
your
in.
badge. Yes, you're in.
Wow. So there's still hope for me yet.
That's right. That's right.
I just have to make sure that the background check is clean.
See with your experience, you know, you come on in and then ultimately you can be one of our PIOs, you know, like Santiago, you know.
Right. Yeah, that'll be exactly where I'd be heading. To be honest.
That'll be the ultimate goal.
Right.
Goal.
That'll be right where I'm heading. So let me dive a little bit into Constance Stanley, the individual. Back to your childhood. You mentioned it was 8 of you.
Yes.
What was childhood like for you?
Well, my dad, like I said, I have a lot of respect for my mother and father. God rest their souls, but you know, they were very respectful people in the community. My mother was a missionary in church, so we were brought up in Pentecostal, and my dad was a tree surgeon. He went to church occasionally, but you know, my mother was the disciplinarian in the house. So I sang in the choir,
Okay.
church choir, and used to play the drums, which I loved.
What? Look at you.
Yes, I did.
I'm a drummer.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, we gotta have some conversations at some point later. But you know, went to again, born and raised in Miami, so went to elementary school and then high school and pursued a career. Actually, I was going to. My brother wanted me to enroll in the Army with him. I had 2 that were in the Navy and 1 in the Army. We were 11 months apart, and he wanted me to go in with him in the buddy system. And
Right.
you know, I love my brother to death. I knew how to play football. You know, he taught me how to catch a football and throw it. I can still do it to this day. You know, push-ups,
Show
and I
off.
think, you know, with having a brother that way was able to help me through the academy process, because you have to be physically fit,
Right.
you know, to be there. So thanks to my brother for making me do push-ups when, you know, we were growing up. But but I grew up in the church. Both my parents are from Georgia, so you know, some summers we occasionally had an opportunity to visit, you know, both grandparents, and we would split. 4 of us would go to one, and then 4 to the other, and then in the middle of the summer we would switch, and you know, one stayed on the farm and one stayed in the city. So we liked going to the city because there was more to do then.
Right.
But again, I started my career late in law enforcement, you know, due to having the respect for my mother. I actually was going to join the Florida Highway Patrol, and that's when they were about to hire me, and they had to come and visit at the house, and you know, that's when Mom said, "You're not being a cop, are you?" And I, yeah. So she told me at that time she didn't want me to be, so I had to withdraw my application. And then, like I said, she unexpectedly, you know, died at age 56. You know, about a year or so later, it's just something I had to do. It just kept eating at me, and you know, and like I said, she wanted me to be a nurse. So I have a picture in my office, and it's my dad pinning a badge on me, and he was saying to me, you know, your mom didn't want you to be a cop, don't you? And I said, well, I know, Dad. I said, and as I said earlier, I said, I know she's looking down, smiling on me right now. So,
Oh yeah.
But so you know, I was very proud. And like I said, I just always did the best that I could do in this profession. I've always been the same way, very consistent. You know, you have to deal with, you know, one of the toughest jobs is telling people that they're doing something wrong. And I just strongly believe if you don't address it or, catch them at an early, take the opportunity to do it, then you're just, you're setting them up for failure. So I've always been fair and consistent throughout my career. When, whether the person I figured, considered a close friend, I just, wanted to be that person that was very honest and forthcoming and respectful.
Right.
So I have a daughter. She's 34 now, and 2 grandkids. The oldest he'll be 13 next month, and the youngest is 7.
Oh,
so,
nice.
Proud grandmother.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, looking at what is going on, somebody doesn't want me to be a police officer. Somebody going, oh my goodness, Officer Kevin Stew.
Why not? Why not?
I don't know. I don't know what the fear is. Come on now. That'd make a great cop. What? Looking at what is going on around the country right now, where police officers are concerned, and talk of militarizing the police force and such, when you hear talk like that and you see police officers in the news the way that they have been, for the most part, negatively, what's the first thought that comes to you, and first course of action that you have in mind?
Well, first of all, it's very disheartening. Number one, and going back to George Floyd, I tell you, that really, seeing that incident really devastated me. And I can't fathom or imagine any of my officers conducting themselves in that fashion. But, what surprises me is, you still have officers conducting themselves that way in spite of. I mean, we have body cameras, and it really shouldn't take a body camera for you to make sure you do the right thing.
Right.
But they have them, and they're still not. But, what I had to do with my officers, and I know a lot of them were disturbed about what happened, they're afraid too right now because of what is happening around the nation. And it's like, and what I told them, I said, we're not going to deviate from what we have been doing, when it comes to, and what I meant by that is when it comes to certain things, because we do have an investigative process. And as I mentioned earlier, if anyone wants to file a complaint against someone, they have that outlet. We have the Professional Standards Unit, so they could follow through. And if we find that it's something that, may need to be investigated by the state attorney's office, it may require us putting that officer on suspended leave until it's investigated. Right. So, I had to meet with them and just say, look, just maintain professionalism when you're out there, not to be afraid to do your jobs, but, you have to go within policy and procedures and just be professional. Something as simple as if someone asks your name, you're to provide that information to them. It's a violation of our policy. So, as I say, we've been ahead of the game and making sure that we bridge that gap. And that's why Lauderhill, the city of Lauderhill, does not have the issues that we see going on at a lot of these states. You have to have cultural diversity training to make sure the officer understands how to address and deal with people of other cultures. We're 75% African-American community. So again, making sure the officers understand the various cultures, know how to deal with them, continue to do the training. And if there are issues, you have to address those. But, we have to maintain that. And like I said, just trying to make sure that they're sane, because again, their families are stressed, afraid, when they do go out. And I just have to say to people in the community, don't judge all of the officers as you do a few that are out there violating people's rights. And there are bad cops. Right. There's we have to face that reality. There are racist cops, and we have a problem with systemic racism, but it's not just in law enforcement. That's in just about every profession or every walk of life. So, yes, and that's one of the things, you can't, just like you and I were brought up a certain way, A lot of them were brought up a certain way. Those who are racist, they were taught that from a child. So there are certain things you cannot get out of a person. And when they're stressed, it may come out, so, but again, you have to weed those people out. If you can't treat people professionally, and if you have that, have racism build up in you, and then you don't need to be in this profession. You don't need to wear the badge. And I say that quite often, but you treat people like you will want to be treated, or you will want your family member to be treated. So there's no way to, or no need to violate someone's rights. And, I don't know if I shared this story with you, but we had this young man that and when I go back to what my professor said, whenever opportunity presents itself, you take advantage of it.
Yeah.
But I was working in professional standards, and this young man, he had beat his mom real bad. He was about 16 or 17 years old. And he said that he was mistreated by one of our officers. So, of course, I got called in and I had to investigate it. And his mom was hospitalized. It looks like he was either on something, but you could tell he just wasn't all together. And so I took the opportunity after I took his statement, and I just said, look, I said, I don't know what it is you're going through or what happened. I said, but, that's your mom. I said, you don't hit your mom. And I told him, I said, I don't have my mother. And I just began to talk to this young man. Right. And I said, whatever it is you're on, you need to change your life. Try to get out there and do something for yourself. I mean, I gave him a lot of encouraging words. About a year later, I'm walking from my office, and in the parking lot, this guy, stops me, and he says, excuse me, ma'am. He said, you probably don't remember me. But then he proceeded to tell me about that story. And I recognized him after that. Right. And he said, I want to tell you thank you. And he proceeded to tell me what he was doing with his life. So, again, nice. I said what I said, not knowing that it would, get to him and encourage, but it did. So you take that opportunity to try, and as I always say, it takes a village to raise, a child.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
We have to continue to do that. But it's just, we have to make sure we're doing the right thing. You treat people with respect. And at the end of the day, when you go home, you can hang your head up high.
Yeah. So is it an ongoing thing, sensitivity training in the Lauderhill Police Department? And
it is. So with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, you're required to go through bias-based policing. That's every 4 years. They teach an academy, but we do some. And in fact, what I did, I've already reached out to someone to do some training, since this has occurred, just to make sure, we continue that. But they, we have policies and procedures in place. We talk about cultural diversity training. We're an accredited agency. In fact, we was just passed and through our fifth accreditation process. So
oh, nice.
Yeah. So every 3 years you get it, and this one was Excelsior. So you have to have five in a row where you had no issues. And so part of that is we do have the bias-based policing. Mm-hmm. We haven't had any complaints of bias-based policing, in the last few years. I mean, since I've been the chief and going over through our last process. So we have to keep track of that on a continual basis. But it has to be ongoing. You have new officers that come in. We go through one part of the process. They do the internal training, but part of that is they get a chance to sit with our professional standards unit so they can go through how that operates. They go through policies and procedures when it comes to dealing with the community and the public. So, we make sure that we take everyone who gets hired, through their process with that unit. So, and it's about a 2-hour, sit down that they get with the professional standards sergeant.
Oh, nice. You see, I asked that because with the officers being aware of culturally what the community, what goes on with individuals in the community, and even with those that may have mental issues.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different type of policing.
Right.
And for the kind of reviews that I've been getting off the Lauderhill Police Department, then it pretty much has to be that overall type of policing that is happening.
Yes. And you know, with you mentioning, you touched on something with those who have maybe mental issues.
Right.
I was the president of the Broward Chiefs Association last year, and one of the chiefs, you know, came up with a program. We actually had two chiefs that were already doing it, but a program for autism, autism awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, as you said, you know, there are some that are mentally challenged, and the officer may not know that. You know, there are different levels of autism. So this program would allow officers, if they're dispatched to a house where there's an autistic kid, they would know that going in. So if there's some type of communication barrier, they'll say, okay, you know, this kid is autistic. So, you know, we started that that program, you know, based on an idea. He was chief at the time, Chief Maglione from Fort Lauderdale. So all of the chiefs jumped on board to adopt that same program. That way it's consistent throughout the county. Because
Nice.
you don't want to have it just in one location and then, you know, someone goes somewhere else and they don't have that, you know,
Right.
awareness. If you recall, there was an incident in the city of Miami, you know, where the caretaker was shot, you know, as a result of him, you know, he was taking care of a kid that was autistic. So again, you know, we want to make sure officers are aware of how they ought to respond if they do encounter someone who has a communication barrier. But I think what's most important, we really need to teach, you know, educate the community on what to do when there is a traffic stop. You know, how to conduct yourself when you
Right.
are stopped by the police.
Yeah, we had started
So
talking
that's
about some of that last week too, with
mhm.
Chauncey, you know, and you know where to keep your documents,
Right, right.
and and I again I'm so looking forward to having more of those shows because there's so much to talk about as
There
it
is,
comes to
there is.
policing the what is expected of police officers, what is expected of citizens,
Mm-hmm.
police stops, home visits, calling in a domestic dispute, calling in uh, suspected burglary. You know, all of these things. There are things that people expect of the police, and there are things that the police
Right.
expect of citizens. And both groups are like, what? What are they doing?
Right. And Kevin, you're so right. And I have to, you know, applaud you, you know, Luke and others who have these type of forums because again, you have to keep that dialogue because we don't know. And, you know, we attend some of these homeowners association meetings. In fact, we did one recently with one of our homeowners association. They had that very problem. It's like, why does it take the police so long to get, you know, to a call? And we
Right.
had BSO, Broward Sheriff's Office, their communications come in and explain that process. So it was like, oh, okay, you know, but again, is people not knowing. So they're gonna they're gonna have their own assumptions if they don't know. You
Yes.
know, so they have to understand as well as we need to understand the community concerns. So, you know, I've attended these HOAs and, you know, we have relationships with the president. The president, you know, of quite a few of them have my cell number, you know, so
Mm.
if there are issues, you know, they call, or if they want me to attend a meeting, you know, they'll have their agenda and that way, you know, we can properly address it. But I believe in that and keeping that relationship going.
Right.
And we offer that, you know, we meet with the clergies. We have, you know, it was quarterly meetings, but meeting with them just to kind of get them on board, see what their concerns are. We offer, you know, different, you know, programs that they want to have someone come in and talk about fraud investigation, traffic stops. You know, we offer that as well. You know, we're more than happy to come in and communicate and talk to, you know, their an audience. I mean,
Yeah.
right now with COVID, things have just changed, but we still have Zoom,
Yeah.
you know, and other means of doing it, such as, you know, this. So
Yeah.
we don't want that to stop us. And right now we need to have that. We need to continue, you know, having that done. So,
Oh,
but
definitely.
yeah, so we offer a lot of services to the community. And if they don't know and they don't know what programs, you know, we have, then, you know, how are they going to learn or try to understand? So, you know, we encourage them to let's sit down and have this dialogue and continue to do it.
Now, for the most part, in as we've been talking, we've been looking at how the police interacts in the community and takes care of the community. But who takes care of the police? How in the department do you encourage, I know you mentioned self-care earlier, but
Mhm.
again, this is a stressful job, and I'm in the process right now of putting together something looking to raise awareness to some stressful jobs. With the type of stress that comes with being a police officer. You
Mhm.
have run-ins where you have to arrest someone. You have run-ins where someone gets shot. You have run-ins where you go to the scene of a death, whether by car accident or domestic or whatever.
Mhm.
All these things affect your officers or the police department on a whole on a psychological level. What's the type of a care that you guys go through on that level?
Okay, well, very good question. So our city offers EAP. It's a program if they do have any issues, they have that. We just recently hired a chaplain who kind of spent a lot of time, talking with officers and those things are kept private if they want to, speak to him about certain things. So he's on board. He's full time, with us now. So the officers have that outlet. We also have now, like if they witness a drowning or something, there's a law that passed several years ago, where they do get counseling. I mean, we've been doing it anyway. If we recognize, because a lot of them have kids, they have families, so
Right.
it has to affect them in a way if they're trying to save a drowning kid, and something happens, or they go in that scene where, people are mangled, because you have to remember they're the first responders on the scene. So,
Right. Right.
they see it before they're cleaned up in the hospital. So there's a lot that they go through. But we have different services, available to them.
Yes.
We have to mandate they go, like if they do witness a drowning, or they attempt to save a life, it still may affect them, even if the child or adult survives. They still may need that counseling. So we monitor. We have them go through like a debriefing, and then if they need further counseling from there, that is available. So we make sure we do. Now, I did meet with all of the officers, with everything going on now with our chaplain. And again, if he makes himself available, if anyone wants to speak to him.
Right. Right.
Right now, we're trying to do this program with one of our attorneys for the Broward Chiefs Association, Melissa Presser. She's actually doing a study to try to bring officers back, get them back to why they started doing what they're doing. Because again, what's going on, a lot of them, are kind of, in that mode where, what do I go from here? Especially if they're in the, midpoint of their career. But so she's working on doing that, and she started with our agency,
Nice.
first as a test to do it. So, we opened that because they need it. They have families, like I said, and and they've been doing this for a while, and a lot of them, want to make sure the community accepts them. But anytime we get any letters, and we've been getting a lot of support, I send that out. I email it to all of them and say, great job, and that way they see that. So it's kind of comforting to them to know that they have the support of the community.
Right. Right.
But you have to you have to take care of them. You got to get them the counseling they need,
Yeah.
because you don't know, what people are going through. We deal with this, all the time. You're dealing with crime, and now on top of that, you have everything else that's going on. So, they're definitely stressed, and we have to make sure we provide whatever services they need to make sure they're able to come to work and, with a straight head.
Someone just put in the stupid that suicide is very high in police departments.
Yes,
It's a stress.
it is. And, and that's why they passed this law with PTSD. They're extended it to first responders, which includes firefighters, because of the daily stresses on the job. And it's
Right.
like, trying to turn that off when you get home and you have a family. So, and you have to kind of maintain yourself. But they're human,
But that is
They're
why
not
you have
RoboCops.
right. This is why you have some of the issues or some of the incidents that we been hearing about over time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of you kind of trapped between a rock and a hard place. You look at a case like a Philando Castile,
Mm-hmm.
and you wonder how does it come to this? And then
Yeah.
you have the aftermath where people are saying, but the officers always get off. Their union is so strong, and you hear all these different things out in the streets. Different people have different opinions. You have some media houses that pretty much are anti-police.
Mm-hmm. They are, and a lot of times you want to, when you send them information about the slow rolls or the Secret Santa or the shot with the cop, or the the safety town, you send that out, and some may come on it, but it's like if it's not a gory story, they don't want to hear about it. So a lot of the good things that the officers do, you don't see it. Our shot with the cop, the officers, we normally partner with Target. And they shop with kids, who do outstandingly and well in school. And when they get to the register, they don't have enough money to pay. The officers don't hesitate pulling out their credit card or pulling out cash, to make sure that kid gets what, they want. Or the Secret Santa, or buying bikes, for kids. A grandmother came and say, hey, my daughter is on drugs and she was in a rehab and she had all 4 of the grandkids. Do you all have any bikes that you can give away? Officers on the shift putting money together, to purchase bike for these kids and then presenting them to them. So, people that have the houses burglarized, TV stolen, and the officers going and purchasing TVs to replace. Those things you don't hear about. These are the stories that don't get told. But there's a lot that they do because they have families, and they're very passionate about, the community. So, but again, it's the stories that don't get told. And a lot of times I don't even know about the things they do, I had to share this one story. We had this company that donated some boy and girl bears to us. They made them out of sheep thrills, and they're in the city of Lauderhill. They presented those to us and at a commission meeting and said, hey, these are boy and girl teddy bears. They have name tags on them. When your officers are out and about, we're donating them to, and they can give them away. So nice. I brought them in. I sent an email to the officers and say, hey, there's some boy and girl teddy bears in here. When you all have an opportunity, grab a couple and, give them to a kid you encounter. Yeah. So one of the officers sent me a picture of himself and another officer that brought bears. And he said, Chief, we've been doing this. So my response was, why didn't anybody tell me? But again, it's things they do. They don't go around talking or bragging about it because that's just who they are.
Yeah, so, Chauncey mentioned that last week too. I'm like, look at y'all. And he's like, yeah, it's one of the things that we do and people don't know about it. And and he was saying, and Chief supports it.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, you working on something? What? Because she's on next week. What?
No, it's the truth. It's like I said, there's a lot of things they do, and it don't come up to my level. But we do reward them too. We commend. If they do a life saving, we have a war ceremony every year. We if it's a unit commendation, if they save a life, they may get it. So we go through that process and commend them that way. But, we try to make sure that we recognize them. It's very important, to do that and let them know they're doing a good job.
Yeah, it is. And it's good for people to really recognize in the community that the cops are there for them.
Yes. Yeah.
Not against them, but for them and with them.
Yes. Right.
For some reason, I started off this year determined to get to know some cops because I used to work in Palm Beach at the Salvation Army. So I was at the community center downtown Palm Beach, and this is in the Northwest community. And if you know anything about the Northwest community, it's the historic Northwest community, but it's also one of the really poor neighborhoods in Palm Beach. And the police station is right down the street. And they would come up to the community center, and we had the Cub Scout program, and there were about 6 cops that would come like every week. And this was like one of the highlights of their week. to come there
See?
and be with these kids and the Cub Scouts of America and do make little cars out of these little kits and these boats, and we do this rain gutter thing where we race the boats and get the whole place wet and everything. But they love it.
They love it, and they don't see that. They go by,
No.
some of them, the stories that they hear and see. So you have to get to the kids. We also mentor kids. I know one of the schools, the teacher, have to commend her for coming up with that idea. And she reached out and said, she reached out to several people and she had, I forgot how many kids, but it was more kids than counselors. And they needed more counselors to mentor these kids.
Right.
So, I've been mentoring for the last 3 years at that school, and I think I have probably about 12 officers who mentor the kids. And I just picked up the young lady I mentored last week and took her to breakfast. So, it doesn't stop there. We still, keep in touch with them because it's important for them to see you. And I talked to all 3 young ladies that I had. I treat them like they were my own kid, and not because I'm the chief or the police and you got to be able to do things, and I'm not gonna, say, hey, no, you shouldn't do that, but it's really a good feeling to be able to mentor these kids and, hear a lot of their ideas, and then you can share, exactly what we do. And some of them, again, they go by what they have been told. And, I often try to tell parents, when they, a little kid, they may see a police officer and they'll tell their child, there's a police, I'm going to have them take you to jail. And then I'll tell the parent, don't tell them that because you're going to have them afraid, of us. And,
Right.
Again, it's just kind of one of those things, but it's good to get, through to the youth because, they look at you and, look up to you, and you don't want them to just see you out there or see you as someone that's arresting people. But, we're human too. And a lot of these cops, like I said, they have kids, so they really, respect these kids and want to work with them.
I have to ask the question again. Where do you find the time?
I don't know.
What kind of clock
Everybody
do you
asks me
have?
that. They do. Everybody asks me the same thing. How do you do it? I don't know. I just do it.
Your clock
know,
doesn't have
what
12
is that?
digits. Your clock has.
I've never been a clock watcher. That's one thing. I've never been a person to watch the clock. So, but it's just something I'm very passionate about. And if you're passionate about it, it's not a job,
Yes.
So I don't look at it that way. But I enjoy what I
Yes.
do.
That's like this right here that we're doing right now. It's
Yes.
this is our passion, and
Yes.
I am so grateful that you could come on and share a piece of you, the chief, and the piece of you, the individual, because people often don't associate the two. They see cops as the badge, the gun, the uniform, the bulletproof vest,
Mm-hmm.
the handcuffs,
Very true.
the jail.
Very true. Yes.
Forget about the people. And then especially when you go through the last few really rough months of news, negative news.
Yeah.
And from the deaths to the protests,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody just digs up what has happened in the past. And I'm not saying that some of them don't need highlighting. I have
Yes.
highlighted some of them myself and still in the process of having more to come. But you can't leave out this right here when you have good cops doing good things.
Yes.
You have to
And not-
include that in
yeah.
the mix. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
No, I was gonna say, not looking for anything. Not
Right.
looking for anything in return. It is
Yeah.
being genuine.
And that is the part that is not seen. When
Right.
when you have from the very top down the line coming into the community and being active in the community, you can't expect anything but good things to happen.
Yes.
And hearing you tell the stories of you being out there, and this is not just now since you've been chief, but all your police life.
Yes.
That and to hear other officers talk about you, even the retired ones that have nothing to gain from saying something good about you. It's not like they're gonna get a raise or anything, you know. Yeah, I'm gonna get a raise on my pension. Ooh. No, it's not gonna happen. But
Yeah.
it's I commend you, and I look at policing the community and the police in the community, and I don't know if I'll get any other police department to come on this broadcast, but I spent.
No, they should. I mean, take the advantage of the opportunity, and that's what I'm saying. Is we need to do that, and it's so important. And again, because people are going to come up with their own story. You know, if you don't share, you know, and I know you probably have to wrap up soon, but I wanted to share this, and it's so important. I didn't even mention all the programs we have. We have the Rescue Our Kids, Rock Academy. But in our citizens, going back to our Citizens Police Academy, there was a gentleman that attended. And what I do, I go to the beginning of the classes to hear why everybody signed up. What are you expecting to get out of, from this class? And then I come back when they graduate to hear their stories. Well, what really got me was one guy who attended, and he said I can't remember if it was 10 years or maybe been longer, he had a negative encounter with the police. I think he was stopped. They thought it was somebody else, and, turns out he wasn't the person they expected. And he said he had that animosity for the sake of not remember, but I know it was either 10 or more than 10, but for 10 years he carried that animosity. And when he went through our class, he told that story. He said, I have a new, view on it. And I carried, and I hated that he carried that for so long. So I went over and I gave him a hug. I talked to him afterwards because, again, for him to have to go through that for those number of years. And it took this class for him to say, oh, okay, I understand now. And, but again, and that's where we don't have these conversations. People won't, you'll have another guy like that had to wait 10 years before he found out why things are done a certain way. So, we have to continue this dialogue just so people can have that better understanding and that relationship.
Somebody had asked a question about false reporting, like making a prank 911 call or something, how that is handled.
Yeah, it's a charge. It's a criminal charge if you make a false report. In my former agency, I worked in professional standards too, and we had a lady make up a story about two cops that she was raped by two officers. It turns out it wasn't the truth, but she called 911. She had us come in. I had to go in at 3 a.m, that time to investigate this case that was not a case. She made up that story, but she was charged for it because it didn't happen. She, was out and didn't want to tell her boyfriend where she was and made up this whole story that she was raped by two police officers and described two officers. Yeah. So, but you have people that call 911, and that's why you have to explain to them, if it's not an emergency, you don't use the 911 system, to try to get a cop there fast. And that may be your goal, but that's not what the call is. You want to save that call for someone who really needs, 911, because now you're tying up an officer to respond to you when there's a real emergency going on, somewhere else. So again, just as long as people know they can call the non-emergency number, for certain types of calls. But if there's a true emergency, then you have to utilize, 911. But yeah, if you don't use it properly, or it is a crime.
So people get in trouble for non-emergency calls on a 911?
Only if they're doing it intentionally.
Okay.
Not right. If you're saying, okay, well, I'm just going to call 911 because my tire is flat, I'm just throwing that out there. But right. Not intentionally, because some do it just to try to get the police there quicker and thinking that's going to get them there quicker. But no, if you're making a mistake and you think, okay, this is a way to call, then no, you wouldn't be in trouble. It has to be where you actually knew and intended on calling 911 or misusing, 911.
Got you. So I hope that answers your question about the 911 call 8:59 in the stew pot.
Right.
Because I didn't want to end without that being addressed. No, and just so that you guys that are listening in know, not because this conversation with Chief Stanley is coming to an end, does it mean that conversations with the Lauderhill Police Department ends? No, not at all.
All right.
Firstly, I am working to bring them back each month. And each month we look at something else. We touched a little bit on traffic stops last week when we were talking to Chauncey. But like we said, there's so much more to talk about. And you do the Citizens Police Academy.
Yes.
When is that coming back
since
on?
we haven't been able, well, that's the thing. We're trying to see if we're going to try to do it, virtual, but it's the hands-on is what really is the best way to do it, because you get a chance to experience certain things, do the ride along. So it kind of takes a little bit away. But again, we were going to look at maybe doing a virtual academy and having less students attend.
Right.
But just like you're having this show, Kevin, there's a lot of things we can cover on your show that we typically cover, in that academy. So if there's a topic that you want to say, hey, let's talk about this, and we can make that happen, with your show once a month.
Oh,
but
that's gonna happen.
but we can try to look at doing some virtual, whatever topics you want. I mean, we can probably present you with some ideas and then say, okay, we'll discuss this, and we can probably show what we do teach in the academy, and maybe discuss those things on the show.
Yeah, because one of the things that I'd love to see change in our communities is the fear of the police.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And for it to be more, go back to what it should be, the respect of the police.
Yes.
And because of a mutual relationship.
Right.
We don't fear our parents. But when we're doing something that is not quite right, even as adults, those who still have their parents around, your parent says something to you or look at you in a certain way, you kind of
straighten up. Right.
Yeah. I grew up, and I said this last week, I was telling Chauncey, I grew up with the look. And I got it from my grandmother more than I got it from my mother. And
right.
I went to pretty much the largest Salvation Army church in Kingston, Jamaica. And I'd be at the back of the church in service, and my grandmother was on the choir, and she sat in the front. And I just feel eyes on me. And I'd look up, and that would be my grandmother. That kind of respect. She never, ever laid a hand on me.
Didn't have to say anything either, just that look, huh?
Yeah. My whole life, my whole childhood, my grandmother never laid a hand on me. But look.
Yeah. Well, I think the kids need more. No, it is respect, and they need more role models. But if you think back then, Kevin, it took a village. So,
yes.
Your aunt, you had everybody looking out. And nowadays, the role models, we need more mentors, for these kids. Because they go through a lot, and a lot of times they act out in school, and you may not know what's going on at home. But, they have to have that positive reinforcement, and I see where that's lacking now.
Well, with less crime in the community, doesn't that give the police department more of an opportunity to do that protect and serve bit?
Yeah, and they do. They are out there. It's just we had designated programs, so that's where I'm saying the mentoring,
Right.
meeting one-on-one, and we still, like I said, I picked up the young lady I mentor,
Hmm.
last week, so I'm still trying to keep that relationship. And hey, I'm still here. She can call, if there are any issues. So a lot of it we have, with COVID, they have to really still be careful, being around people just so they don't pass anything on to them. So,
Right.
we just can't do it like we used to, but we got phones, we have, the virtual means of doing it. So, we just have to be creative, but not stop it. So, but I appreciate you, doing this show, and happy to come on, have us come on once a month to go over some things, to discuss and present to the community. But
Oh yeah.
you have to continue having these relationships, with the kids, and trying to do as best we could. I mean, school is going to open up differently now,
Yeah.
as well. So again, my plan was to have a Citizens Youth Academy. Citizens Youth Academy, just like we do the adults, because we do have one that's a week. That's a Rock Academy, Rescue Our Kids, but it's
Right.
not long enough. So I want to do something similar to what we do with the adults, and just go through different segment once a week. They get, a lesson on this. And so that's something I'm working on now.
Now, Chief, I don't live in Lauderhill.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little bit up the road. But
Uh-huh.
so how would I be able to get in on something like that?
As far as the academy, if we did a youth academy.
If you no any of them, the youth or the
Oh,
adults.
you don't have
how
to
does-
be a resident. We have people that sign up that are outside of the city,
Yeah.
because we don't want to shut it down. We obviously we want people from the community, to attend, but we don't turn anyone away if they want to come in and attend. Because again, at the end of the day, you go to another neighboring agency, their system is going to be the same as far as how certain things work.
Right.
You just need to understand things the Lauderhill way, but it's pretty much consistent throughout the different cities. So we don't turn anyone, away. Even with the Rescue Our Kids, we try to get to kids who are going astray. So we want to make sure that we offer that program and service to them. But no, you can come in, you can attend. In fact, when we do get up and running, I would like to, if you can, to come to attend our Citizens Police Academy.
I would love to.
At this time. All right. Well, I'm going to take you up on that. So,
Oh yeah. Listen,
yeah.
I have very little in this world. The one thing that I hold dear is my word.
There you go.
It's
Well, good.
just about all that I have. So when I give it,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, great. Glad to hear that. And that's what we want people to do. Come in and, sit and understand, because we want them to have a better understanding of why things are done. It's less stress on us and less stress on them trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And at least they have questions, they can go back and forth. Some do the ride-alongs, and in fact, it was funny to hear the stories when they do the ride-alongs. They were like, "Oh my God, the person was yelling at the officer, and they weren't even saying anything back. I don't know how you could do it." So they get a taste of what you're faced with when you're out in the community.
Even
When they
that.
do the ride.
But
Yes.
even that though, Chief, how people talk to you, that in and of itself, in and of itself is pretty, can be pretty stressful.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, the officers have to, again, you're going to be faced with that, and you have to just know how to, when they say verbal judo, there's a way of dealing and talking to people, and
Yeah.
some may bend and some may not, and they may continue.
Right.
Some people just flat out they can't stand the cops no matter what you say or do.
Yeah.
But you still try to get to, if you can get to one person, then you've done something. Just try to get one at a time and get them to change their mindset. But it would take having that positive encounter, because you don't know what they've been through. They may have had negative encounters, before, but, and I always tell, I go out and I see people looking out, speak, "Hi, how are you?" And you see them smile and they look, because they're probably thinking the same thing. "Oh, the cop doesn't like us, but I break the ice. How are you today?" So, but you can't be afraid not to.
Some of them think it's
Because
just PR. Yeah, that's that cop. Yeah, this they just put it on a show. You know, they don't
Yeah.
really mean it.
No, I I know I speak, and if they have a kid or something, I'll start talking to the child, and but no, but it's a way to break the ice so people can kind of see you in a different light. So
Well, thanks for coming on and kind of
sorry about that.
taking off the uniform, so to speak.
Yes.
We got a little bit of the personal side of you, and so that people can see, hey, she's a real person.
Yeah, that's right. It's funny you mentioned that because we're doing a video now. We put a few of them out, just with officers saying who they are. I'm Lauderhill, but these are some of the things that I like to do. So so they can kind of see us as human beings.
Nice.
Outside of that uniform.
Where is that shown? Where did is that on social media? Is that on?
It's on us. I have to actually check. I know that we have a marketing company, so I know they put some of them out through that company. It may be through social media and other outlets. I'll let you know. And I know they put a few out there already and gotten some positive responses from the community. So I'll make sure I have Santiago pass that information on to you.
Yeah, and I know you guys have social media pages. I did tag y'all in the Instagram post, so
okay.
I know y'all actually have at least that.
Yeah, we do. We try to get it out there because a lot of times people may not. Everybody uses social media, so
yeah,
that's a way to best thing to get out. And a lot of times, if we don't get the media to come and cover a story, we just put it out on social media.
Yeah.
And may get some responses from there. So.
Right. Well, Chief, how can people get in touch with you if they're trying to reach out to you? Because I know, again, there's policies, there's procedures, there's change of command and such. But sometimes people want to reach to the chief.
Yeah, well, I have. Can you hear me? Okay? Because
yes.
I switched from. Okay. The main number to the city is 954-497-4700. And my admin assistant is Lauren Williams Morgan.
A wonderful lady.
Right.
Wonderful even.
Yes, she is. She is.
Yeah, we had a lovely chat this past weekend.
Yeah, very bubbly personality.
Oh yes.
Yeah, she's great. But yeah, they can contact her, and if I'm not available, I have two deputy chiefs, Alan Siegel, Deputy Chief Alan Siegel, and Timothy Belcher is the other deputy chief.
Nice. Hey, before you go, did you get any stress being a woman at the top? Did you get a hard time?
Oh yeah, but like I said before, Kevin, I never let it bother me. I mean, you go out and you have your male, subordinate, and people just automatically assume that they're, in charge. Mm-hmm. Or, my last name is Stanley, and they all just automatically assume it's a male chief, not looking. But like I said, I really don't let that bother me because I just been who I am, and other people may have an issue with it, but I don't. So that's their problem, not mine. I just never let it. I never was intimidated by it. At all throughout my career. But yeah, you have,
I do remember you telling me that story though.
The funny and the weird thing too, I had, I had a lieutenant that came in, and then I became his captain. I supervised him.
Yeah.
And and the thing about it, and I always kind of give credit, I never gave them any issues when I was their subordinate. So I never had any issues when I became their supervisor. So that's just who I am. So
right.
And I'm in this predicament now. The guy who's my deputy chief was my supervisor. Before I became chief. So I was, he never had any issues, with me. And so again, it's just it's who you are and how you carry yourself, and no matter what. I mean, I would love to see more women. And there are more that's getting, at the higher levels. But,
right.
And I think the more they see us there,
Yes.
then the more will, they look and say, hey, I can do this too. So just encouraging them to not let, anything from the outside discourage you. If that's your goal you set it and you strive for that. You can't be looking around, and seeing who's saying this or feeding into the negative. You just stay focused and you'll get there.
Isn't it kind of weird though, going from reporting to someone to having that person report to you?
Yeah, it is. But again, it's how how you treat them. If you've been respectful and they know who you are, so.
Yeah.
But it is. I mean, some people, it could be challenging. They can't, a lot of people just don't like, that part of the job when it comes to that. But, you just, if it's a goal you have and it's something you want to do,
go for it.
You just can't let it, you can't let it get to you. But, there's some good parts to it and there's some bad parts to it, but a lot of people don't like conflict. They don't like to deal with it, don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
And I never had that issue. I'll commend you one day, and if you did something in the same day that was not proper, I'm going to discipline you, so, and you can't be afraid, you can't look at everybody as your friend. Even close friends that I had that I work with, I try to give them advice, when they were wrong. Some people don't take well to that, but
right.
Hey, I'm just going to tell you what I see, so, and I think people respect you when you're fair. You're fair and consistent. That's really key.
Yeah, I think that was another thing that someone said about you. I think that you're fair. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you have to be. You have to be.
I
said, a lot of people go around wanting to demand respect, and it doesn't take that. People, you have to carry yourself in a respectful way in order to get that.
You command it. You don't demand it.
Right. That's right. That's right.
And you have done quite a job at commanding the respect of the Lauderhill community. Not just the police officers, but the residents, the citizens in the Lauderhill community. And kudos to you, big ups to you, Chief. And you also implemented some programs in the Lauderhill community for the community, where the community gets to interact with the police officers. And again, big ups to you for that.
Thank you.
I love how you love the community.
I do.
All right, Chief, I'm going to let you get about 5 minutes worth of rest because, again, I don't know how you do it. But thank you for doing it.
Well, and thank you, Kevin, for having, these opportunities to kind of express, myself, because again, these forums are important. I couldn't stress it enough, so I applaud you and I appreciate you reaching out. I'm glad I had an opportunity to meet you, so we can continue this dialogue. But definitely we'll continue this dialogue and get whatever information you need so we can get it out to the community.
It's a deal.
Okay.
All right, Chief, you take care. We'll be in touch.
You too, Kevin. All right, and thank you again. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Good night.
All right. Good night.
Chief Constance Stanley. We're going to take a quick little break and come back. We run through a little bit of a musical therapy. We'll be right back.
Pulsey Media Group, innovative streaming and recording, has done it again. A new way to get your business in full view of your neighborhood consumer through AdShare TV. It's available in your neighborhood today. It's easy. Just call us 754-999-6020. Become a host today and place a TV monitor in a strategic location so it's easy to see. Get a 1-minute video ad or longer that plays anywhere in our network. Can't be a host? No problem. For a few dollars, we'll run your 30-second video ad. A host can run announcement specials like buy one get one free or discount ads. Let's turn your flyers into a 30-second video with music or a voiceover, or let us create and run your video ad with a spokesperson. Take advantage of our early enrollment discount. Join us today. Your ad will be seen at least 30 times per day in your AdShare TV neighborhood. It's easy. Just call us 754-999-6020. AdShare TV, part of Pulsey Media.
Hi, my name is Andrew Smallin, and I'm running to be the next sheriff of Broward County, Florida. I was born in Jonestown, Jamaica, and immigrated to the United States when I was 8 years old. Following in my father's footsteps, who served as a soldier in the Vietnam War, I served as an officer in the United States Marine Corps during Operation Desert Shield and helped keep America safe. You see, all my life, I have kept people safe by serving as a Broward Sheriff's Deputy, a school resource officer, and the Chief of Police of Lauderhill, Florida. As an Associate Dean of Criminal Justice, I am helping to teach the next generation of law enforcers how to keep their communities safe.
Okay, welcome back. I'm not too sure what just happened. Something crazy happened. I don't know. Everything just stopped. But never fear, we still have what, 15 minutes left, and so based on that, we'll just jump off into a little bit of Shelly Sweet Shells, you know, South Florida native, and has a new track out, and I kind of like it. It's called Love We Need. Called Love We Need from Shelly Sweet Shells.
With only love I say, only love I
say. This is a track called Say Her Name. It's really entitled Vanessa Guillen.
It's early in the morning, I couldn't say what time. I think it was a Tuesday, but don't get me the line. I'm in Killeen, trying to buy with family, when I came across the paper that was lying in the street. Now, at first I didn't care, but when I stopped and stared, I felt a knife inside my chest. The hell that happened here? I had to blink just in case I read it wrong. For it to come to this, I knew it'd been too long. So as I began to read it, the more was clear to me. This wasn't matter of chance, there's more than what it seems. As I stood there watching cars go lane to lane, it was then I realized I should not soon forget this name. Vanessa. It was April 22nd, she got took against the will. A soldier in the army, that alone should give you chills. Vanessa, say her name. Vanessa, say her name. Now all we want is justice for her and all the rest, from every corner of the world with every breath you can bet. Say her name. Vanessa, say her name.
If you don't know that name,
Vanessa,
look it up. Vanessa Guillen.
for weeks
That's Guillen.
wanting to join in the fight, but my spirit told me no. Nothing had changed, but pay attention to the pain of the family of this woman. Watch how fast they light a flame. Then the story started buzzing, traveled across the land. This happened to a soldier, no one could understand. What is the reason this young woman had to die? She was trying to serve her country and was killed to cover lies. It's been 3 months to the day since she was thrown away, cause that's what happened, just that tragic, gone before she aged. This like fine wine, she poured out red and sent away. Hashtag I'm Vanessa Guillen, simply more than just a craze. It was April 22nd, she got took against the will. A soldier in the army, that alone should give you chills. Say her name. Vanessa, say her name. Guillen. Vanessa, say her name. Guillen. Now all we want is justice for her and all the rest, from every corner of the world with every breath you can bet. Say her name. Vanessa, say her name. Guillen. Vanessa, say her name. Guillen. Today we demand justice for Vanessa and the rest. The fact has come to this shows complete lack of respect. She made an oath of honor, she vowed to serve her pride, to be harassed sexually and lies about why she died. The family's heart is broken, we feel glorious tears, so we won't stop, we'll never drop until the truth appears. You cannot say you serve as being this low to your own. She walked inside completely, shouldn't have to find her bones. She's not the only victim of this, the list goes on. I'm hoping you cowards simply don't think that this is just a song. This ain't for most, just the few that wanna hide a stupid frown. Ain't no disguise, I know what would make you smile. Say it was April 22nd, she got took against the will. A soldier in the army, that alone should give you chills. Say her name. Vanessa, say her name.
Artist goes by the name King Boot Bag.
Vanessa, say her name.
KYNGBOOQ
All the rest from every
BAAG.
with every breath you can bet. Say her name. Vanessa, say her name. Vanessa, say her name.
If you give a little more,
This is Gramps Morgan.
and if you try,
Tribute to his uncle
then you break.
and super producer. Two individuals.
For the kind who takes the time
Super producer Bobby Digital Dixon.
to rain, there's a place for people like you. If you stand up for those down on their knees and lend a voice to those who cannot speak. If you shine a little light, give sight to the ones who've lost their way. There's a place for people like.
There's a place for people like Chief Constance Stanley.
I've heard that the streets are made of gold, and when you get there, there's a hand to hold. I believe when your days There's a place up there for people like you. If you walk around with your heart on your sleeve, and if you're trying to be the change you wanna see, if you lay down your life for love so someone could be saved, there's a place for people like you. I've heard that the streets are made of gold, and when you get there, there's a hand to hold. I believe when your days down here are through, there's a place up there for people like you. I've heard up there the streets are made of gold, and when you get there, there's a hand to hold. I believe when your days down here are through, yeah, there's a place up there for people like you. I know you're out there, so keep doing what you do, 'cause there's a place up there for people like you.
As we get out, just a reminder, love's in need of love today.
Here's your friendly announcer.
Sound of Ed Robinson.
I have serious news to pass on.
I'll catch you all tomorrow when we do it all over again with Healthy Love. 10 till midnight right here at kevinstew.com.
Could mean the world's disaster. Could change your joy and
Until then, good morning, good afternoon, good day to you wherever you are in the world. From right here in South Florida, I bid you good night.
it's that love in need of love today. Oh, don't delay, send yours in right away. Oh, because hate's going round, breaking many hearts. Oh Lord, stop it please, before it's gone too far. Yeah. The force of evil plan to make you its possession, and it will if we let it destroy everybody. We all must take precautionary measures. If peace and love you treasure, then hear me when I say that love's in need of love today. Don't delay, send yours in right away.
Greetings and salutations, one and all. You're invited to tune in to the night shift with DJ Kevin Stew. It airs on Mondays with Community and Finance, Tuesdays with Healthy Love, and Wednesdays with Real Talk from 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern Time. Come spend some time interacting in the stew pot where we keep things bubbling and wind down in musical therapy. The night shift with DJ Kevin Stew is on kevinstew.com, where you're encouraged to have acceptance through enlightenment.